Well, Irene Charnley is a leading businesswoman and board member of the Gender-Based Violence Response Fund and the president of the International Women's Forum. And she joins me now. Irene, good evening to you. It's always a pleasure being in conversation with you. I suppose one of the big places to begin would be your own reflections on this year's International Women's Day. Of course, we reflect on this day in the middle of a pandemic and what the impact of that has been on women globally.
Yes, no, thank you for this. But allow me first to wish you and your listeners, all the women out there, a happy International Women's Day. This is a day, not only in South Africa, but globally, where we all remember and we remember women, we appreciate the achievements of women. We appreciate and we celebrate women's unity. We celebrate their advocacy. Plus, we then have a reflection on the progress of women. And then we work towards and discuss what needs to change in the current environment. So first of all, I wish everybody a happy Women's Day. I think, in fact, now that I'm talking to somebody within the media space, we do remember people like Karima Brown with major achievements, you know, and the impact of COVID on women we will never forget, like herself, you know. So, that's what I can say. So I think the key issues, as you were saying, the whole theme this year is about, women leading the fight against COVID-19. But I think we have to remember that we must never forget the women who've gone before us. You know, many of them, the reason we are here, because they fought, they were able to have certain achievements so that we could follow them, and we do appreciate that. And I think this is a day of reflection as well, where we as women ourselves have to renew our commitment, to inspire change day after day until, I think, during our lifetime, I'm not sure, maybe my lifetime, but maybe yours since you're younger, until equality for women is attained for all women, and that is really our biggest fight during this time.
It's an important issue that you're raising, because ultimately what it says is that the struggle for the full emancipation of women, number one, is not yet complete, but will need to be ongoing. And yes, we often forget that it is women that are also at the forefront of the struggle, some of them who sacrifice their lives in order to be able to be the voices that speak out against the injustice that is happening. Do you think that the cost of doing this work is any less than it was perhaps 20, 30 years ago?
Look, if the issue of women was addressed right from inception, we would not have had this problem. There wouldn't have been a major cost. In actual fact, I think our economy would have grown. I think, there's already research that would have proved that has indicated that the economy, the GDP growth would grow for as long as women are at the forefront of our economy. But that hasn't happened, so that's why if it was implemented, it would have been there. Things would have been very different. But obviously that's the past. We all have to look ahead to ensure something positive happens for women. I mean, the big issues, I raised earlier on to somebody. One of the big issues that we are confronted with is the issue of gender equality and pay parity, which needs massive, massive change. There's been a lot of progress over the years, but we still have a very, very long way to go. But now we have to fast track it. If you look at the overall achievements of South African women, just in terms of when you look at board membership, they're just over 20% when it should be 50%. You look at executives, women in executive positions. Recent research have shown that between only 9 and 29% of women are in executive position. But what's even worse is that only about 3.3% of women are CEOs, in the JSE listed companies. And then when you have CEOs, I mean, recently the case with the African Bank, a very competent person, next thing, the person is there, turned the bank around, and then she resigns, and the board is quiet about it. So there's still a long, long way to go for us to do this change. But now we have to not only work as individuals, but we have to work collectively to achieve change, because it's not going to come about all by its own. Even though, sorry, go ahead.
So economically, the picture for women has changed, albeit marginally. But we also know that in the spaces of their personal lives, women are also coming under attack. You, as being part of the Gender-Based Violence Fund, we take a look at the latest crime statistics, which between October and December show us that at least 12,000 women in this country, in the period of those 3 months, were sexually assaulted. And that just speaks to the level of violence that still exists in our society.
Yeah, and in fact, you're spot on, because when you look at, in addition to the economic burden that we face, that women are faced with, you also have the pandemic, and our president, of the country clearly defines it as a second pandemic, which is gender-based violence and femicide, because, I mean, the statistics, in terms of GBVF, is absolutely frightening. I mean, they are horrific. They're terrifying. If you look at this, you cannot actually believe it. Somebody say that so many people, every 8 hours, a woman dies at the hand of an intimate partner. I mean, these statistics are scary. You won't believe this. And then when you go to the workplace, you have, the problem is exacerbated. It affects businesses, productivity, absenteeism. On top of it, then the same women, have to go home. They faced with issues at work. Then they still have to go home to an abused relationship. So, the whole issue, therefore, of gender-based violence is a big, big issue. It's an unfunded issue. People have never focused on it and making it a core issue. And it is our role collectively within society to ensure that we all have a role, and a serious role, to play within this.
Sure.
Hello?
Irene Charnley, unfortunately, we're going to have to leave it there for tonight. Thank you so much for coming on to the Pulse.